Yes, ma'am.
I know you probably hear this a lot, but I would like to know, because I'm struggling with, frankly, who I actually support for governor right now because of all the negative campaigning. And everybody says they're tired of it. However, the interesting thing is, even though people say they're tired of it, it seems to work. People still respond to it, but there's so much negative out there, and frankly, I would like a little more clarification from you about what happened with HCA, because I really don't understand what happened. And
Sure.
of course, people want to know, if you didn't know, why not?
Sure. All right. See, on Columbia HCA, I built a company from scratch, put up $125,000, bought a lot of companies, a lot of hospitals all across the country. We were in 37 states and 2 foreign countries. Had 285,000 employees. We did a wonderful job of 3 things. We drove down the cost of healthcare for patients, for the benefit of patients. We drove up patient satisfaction, and we drove up outcomes, because basically we were about 5% of the hospitals in the country, and you had to compete against us, so everybody got better. Now, what could we have done better? We could have put more effort into internal and external auditors to make sure we complied with all the government regulations, and we should have. That's the lessons you learn. The difference between, in business, you put up your money, you do the best you can every day, and you hope everything goes right. When it doesn't, you take responsibility. I take responsibility for anything that went wrong. But the difference between government and business you have to take responsibility, and you do. Government, no one takes responsibility. Who's responsible for the unemployment? Who's responsible for the regulation? Who's responsible for people underwater on their homes? No politician takes any responsibility. My commitment is, when I'm governor, if something goes wrong, I'll take responsibility and I'll fix it. Now, one thing you learn, the biggest lesson I've learned in business, is that you do your best every day, and you keep trying to set up systems to prevent problems, but you've got to do more and more and more. And it's sort of like the book, The Black Swan. Things happen, and you've got to constantly get better. And that's the biggest lesson I've learned in business, of all the businesses I've been in. What else? Yes, sir?
I'm not sure you answered the question, at least not in my mind. I worked 20 years in healthcare. I worked for a hospital in which they got in trouble for the same reasons that HCA got in trouble. The chief executives went to jail. I eventually became part of the management team that rescued that hospital from Chapter 11. I guess I just want to know, point blank, did you or did you not know that any of this was going on? Because these guys did, and they went to jail. Did any of the people below you, vice presidents, department managers, or anything, go to jail?
Nobody. If I had known what would you do if you started a business from scratch? It's your money. So if somebody did something wrong, you'd fix it. I, of course, didn't know anything that was wrong. Plus, think about it, they did a big investigation. If they thought I did anything wrong, they would have done something. Nobody went to jail.
I guess I can't understand how that can be. I mean, there was a huge Medicare fraud case, correct?
They paid a big fine, absolutely.
Somebody was responsible for it.
Well, all I know is, they paid a fine years after I left, all right? And, the best thing to do is get on a website called truthaboutrickscott.com. It gives you a whole bunch of facts. But, they did a big investigation. Nobody suggested I did anything wrong, never questioned me, nothing. Yes.
Rick, the $1.7 billion fine levied against HCA for fraud that occurred during your tenure as CEO, you want us to believe it occurred under someone else's watch?
Yeah, sure. 2 questions. I think this contributor here was asking how you said you'd taken responsibility on the problems with HCA. Could you delineate explicitly what responsibility you did take with regard to HCA? And second question, when we're talking about the immigration issue, specifically, what penalties would you place on employers who employed illegal immigrants, undocumented aliens, whatever, illegally? Since we're talking about an economic barrier, specifically, what would that barrier or penalty be?
Sure. On the first one, on Columbia HCA, I said, basically, things that happen on my watch, I take responsibility for them. And it's as simple as that. On the second one, on the immigration, what a lot of states are doing is looking at taking away licenses for people that do the wrong thing, that have consistently hire illegal immigrants. So that's what I would look at.
Okay, didn't answer the question.
Mr. Scott, someone who accepts responsibility cannot in the same breath legitimately deny accountability. I only hope that there are enough voters to now hold you accountable, then not.